back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. How are you doing, Luke 10?
Good. I've got a new microphone, so I'm hoping that the ASMR comments that we've had so far are going to be amplified for the next, or multiplied, probably the better word, for the next episode.
I mean, that's a good shout. I think I'm the one with the audio issues, to be fair, and if anyone could see me right now, they'd understand why. Kind of currently talking into an unplugged microphone just to make me feel like I've got a good mic, but it's not really happening. Really, really looking forward to today's episode. It's one that actually someone on Reddit kind of came up with. So I to try and get a bit of feedback from you wonderful listeners, I sent a link out onto Reddit and said if anyone could give us some feedback and what you'd like to hear from us, what we can do to basically give you guys what you want, let us know. And the wonderful Mick Bike came back to me with some fantastic suggestions. Some of them are extremely detailed, and I think we're going to have to put a bit of time and effort into planning them, but we will get there, so thank you for that. But one of the more, I suppose the easier ones for us to do was actually to kind of tell you guys a bit more about Luke 1 and Luke 10, where we've come from, how we've got into procurement, and just kind of, I guess, a little bit more about ourselves. We certainly took for granted that just starting a podcast doesn't necessarily mean that you know who we are. So we're gonna strap you guys in and then give you a little taste into two Lukes and our wonderful brains.
We'll bring you into our home, into our world, give you a little insight into who we really are.
Yeah, and I think before we cut into that segment with our wonderful introductions, I just wanted to kind of say thank you to everyone who's listened so far. There's been some unbelievable numbers on the podcast already. There's been some positive feedback on Spotify and other platforms. There's been a couple of negatives. Obviously, it's still appreciated, although it is anonymous. So, if you did have the spine to put 1 star, why don't you get at us on the socials and tell us what went wrong and what we can improve on?
I've heard just on that. I've heard that in some cultures, 1 star is considered the best. So I think what must have happened is the only possible explanation is, someone's wanted to put the best score, but they think the best score is a 1 star. So
maybe
we
think
appreciate it.
Yeah, we're the number 1 podcast out of the top 5. That's what they're saying.
Of the top 5 procurement podcasts run by 2 males with the same name.
Yeah, and that is our goal, right? So, look, I think it's interesting you said that about culture, and I think what's absolutely blown both of us away is the kind of geographical location of some of our listeners. It's been kind of amazing, actually, and overwhelming. So we're just going to do a shout out to some of our listener countries. So if you are representing any of these countries, that would be amazing. Let us know. Well, we're on YouTube, so let us know on our YouTube comments if you're representing one of these countries, and thank you so much. So we'll start with, we're going to exclude the United Kingdom because that's where we're from, and we feel that obviously we've passed it to people we know and they're kind of bumping up our numbers a little bit. But then we've got our favourites in the United States. So we've got some big love for Texas. Thank you to your Texans. We've got some love from Spain. So hola papi.
Hey, yo.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. We've got some incredible love from the Botswana boys. So if you're in Botswana and listening, that's incredible. I don't think either of us have been personally, but we'd love to know more about it and what the supply chain situation is like over there. New Zealand, a bit of Kiwi love. Thank you very much. Some love down under in Australia, so literally the other side of the world. Kenyan brothers, thank you very much. Great to see you guys in the stats. Morocco, another fantastic location. Ireland, thank you very much. Mauritius, Greece, Germany, Belgium, Malaysia. By the way, if you are the Malaysian listener, please reach out to us, because you are the only listener from the Asia region, and we'd love to get you passing the pod a little bit, because it's the one geographical region we need to kind of spread out a little bit more in, I think. And then just a couple more to run over: Slovakia, Denmark, Canada, Iceland, Zambia, and even Brazil. So quite an impressive list, that, Luke, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I really like the idea of someone in, I don't know, Brazil or Mauritius just on their way to work in a procurement job, and they decide to listen to us on the commute. So, or even, they're walking the dog in New Zealand and they wanted to give us a listen. So, yeah, I mean, we really have gone global. So I appreciate that. And obviously, I'm going to let the fame get to my head because why not? It's fame. Fame's fame. I'm global, international. So if you want to send me some money, then please feel free.
No, absolutely don't do that. You're not Pitbull. You're not Mr. Worldwide. This is introductions to these countries, mate. We've got a long way to go to make sure we help as many people as possible with the master in the art of procurement, as we like to say. But yeah, I mean, look, Malaysian listener, Ghana listener, Belgium listener. There's only you've only listened once, so come on, let's improve that a little bit. Thank you very much. Right, should we roll the tape over to our introductions?
Yes, sit back and relax and enjoy.
So I think it's fair to say that these introductions might be inspired by a rather high-profile sports tournament that took place in which a young 16-year-old darts player took on another player with the same name. So we had Luke Littler versus Luke Humphreys, and it got some traction. So we thought, that's two Lukes. Could these two Lukes, us two Lukes, do a bigger introduction? So let's do it dart style.
He's laughing already. Here we go.
Oh yeah, mate, I'm sweating a bit because I've been practicing this at home on my own. So
in front of the mirror,
ladies and literally, right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to meet a legend, 3 times haircut of the month winner, with over 9 amateur league football matches refereed, the only person brave enough to wear camo trousers into the office. Introducing Luke the Cardio King 10.
Woo! Thanks for the brilliant introduction. It's great to be here in front of all the fans. Just, I'm just loving the intro. I think that's great. But I think it might be time to introduce the main man. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may I present to you the former world record holder for most cashew nuts in the mouth. Need to start back.
What is that?
Right, let me go. Composure.
Get a grip!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may I present to you the former world record holder for most cashew nuts in the mouth at any one time. Some say that when KFC ran out of chicken, he turned into Wolverine and terrorised the local dog park. Or that every time he sees Luke 10's camo trousers, he makes a cross sign over his nipple. He's the only man to ever have dropped Riz from outer space, and he's also been voted as Procurement's smoothest liaison for the 5th year running. It's Luke 1, the Riz Doctor! No idea how that came out.
Mate, that was unbelievable. I don't remember stuff in my mouth with cashew nuts, but I'll take it, and appreciate the introduction there. Thank you for inviting me to the stage. I think that's a good start to the episode with our little darts introductions. I think hopefully by this point we've let the sound guy pick our introduction backtracks because we were scared of copyright. So hopefully he's put in something good for us. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, boy.
So now we've got some. What order are we doing? Quickfire questions next?
Yeah. So look, I've got 6 quickfire questions lined up for you. Hopefully you've got 6 for me. We'll take it in turns. Quickfire means one word, no explanation as to why you picked that answer. So, we'll let the listeners decide why you picked those particular answers. Are you ready? I'll roll with your 6 first.
Okay. One word or one phrase answer?
One word apart from unless otherwise specified in the question.
Okay.
Number 1. The best country you have visited?
Latvia.
Number 2. Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Number 3. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Energetic. That's one. I can't even think of words now. Right. Energetic, smooth, and happy.
Thank you. Number 4, favourite movie.
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Number 5, procurement or refereeing.
Oh no, it's like choosing between my two children. I think I'd have to go refereeing.
And finally, Indian or Chinese.
Chinese, every day. Those were good. I mean, definitely better than the quick fire questions I've got.
Yeah, just before you do that, just so the listeners are aware, we've prepared these questions blind, so we don't know what each other has done. Hence why Luke was taken back by a couple of those, and now he's panicking about his ones.
I feel like yours are more traditional quickfire questions. Mine are maybe well, okay. So the first one is, how much would you pay to never see my camo trousers again?
I'd empty my bank account instantly.
Would you rather £1 million up front or 10 million if you beat 50 chickens in a fight? Red chickens as well.
10 million.
You have a chance at 10 mil.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Would you rather be responsible for a procurement duck up and no one knows, or not be responsible for one but everyone thinks you have been?
I feel like if I was in a room with 10 procurement professionals, I'd probably be blamed for the duck up anyway. So I reckon I would not be responsible and just take the blame for it.
No, fair enough. I mean, they didn't really get to see an insight into your personality there, so I feel like your questions were more interesting, more explorative than mine.
You wait to see the ones I've got later, mate. They're outrageous. We'll get to those. So obviously, Mick Bike was quite keen to know how we both got into procurement and kind of, I guess, some procurement related topics as opposed to whether you prefer Chinese or Indian takeaway. So let's dive into that. So how did you get into procurement, Luke 10?
So I was doing my A-levels and I didn't really want to go to university because I'm not very good at learning academically, I don't think, when I can't see an application to what I'm learning. If I'm just learning things, I don't really know why I'm learning it. It doesn't really sink into my brain as well. So I thought, what if I do an apprenticeship? And I applied for about 50, 60 apprenticeships, got rejected from all of them except one, which happened to be a procurement apprenticeship in the public sector. So I did that. I really enjoyed it, to be fair. And I feel like I picked it up fairly quickly from my perspective anyway, and it seemed like quite a good role. So I decided to kind of carry on and move to the private sector currently. But yeah, so basically, in short, did an apprenticeship and then moved from there. What about yourself?
Brilliant. I know from kind of where I've worked and kind of where some of my friends have worked, that the apprenticeship schemes are actually coming in clutch at the moment. There's a lot of people that are now looking at apprenticeship schemes, save 36 plus grand of debt from uni and also getting into fields that people aren't even aware of in some instances. So, would you recommend an apprenticeship to anyone out there who might be listening and potentially?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, they say average student debt nowadays is 60 grand. So for me to be able to not only get a qualification and not have to pay for it, but also earn money at the same time and build up that sort of bank of experience, it's been really invaluable. I think for people like me who sort of learn by doing in a practical way, apprenticeship's definitely the best way to go, not rather than forcing yourself to do a degree which you might not use in the future.
Brilliant. And where are you on your SIPS journey at the moment?
So I've done my level 4, looking to start levels 5 and 6 fairly soon.
Brilliant. So was level 4 okay? Did you find it all right?
Yeah, I found it fine, to be honest. Most of the content made sense, and if it didn't make sense, or is that the right way to describe it? Most of the content sort of seemed practical to understand. Like once you know it, it makes sense. If that kind of comes across in the right way. And then for the other stuff, it's just sort of a case of learning it in the way you need to learn it for the exam. I'm hoping that level 5 and 6 will be similar.
Brilliant. No, interesting. So sorry, and I know you did ask kind of me the same question. So I guess I'll share how I dived into the world of procurement. I actually did go to uni and racked up shed loads of debt, and when I finished my final year, the employability help desk basically sent out a questionnaire and was like, oh, if you fill this in, we'll recommend 5 or 6 different job fields that suit your personality, your degree that you're going to be coming out with, and all of that good stuff. And it came up with things like accountant, really interesting. Procurement was on there, the procurement supply chain, and then there was sort of financial management and things like that. Procurement actually stuck out for me a little bit because, well, one, I didn't know what the hell it meant, and two, it just kind of looked nice as a word written down. So anyway, I then tried to apply to graduate schemes, and like you, applied to 50, 60, got rejected from the majority of them. I say rejected, a lot of them are like 2 or 3 interviews, ridiculously challenging psychometric tests and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of time
for the sake of it.
Exactly, and a lot of time went into them, and then you get to an assessment centre and someone's already kind of clearly primed for the role or something like that, which was frustrating. So I didn't get into procurement. I actually got into account management and spent some time, I guess, earning my stripes, talking to customers and managing their expectations and trying to upsell, to a degree, some sort of work to them. And a few years into that, I then saw an opportunity to kind of get an entry-level role as a buyer. Luckily, I managed to persuade the manager at the time to take a risk on me, which obviously was a risk with no procurement experience. He took that risk, and then the rest is history, really. So kind of been in the procurement field 5 or so years now, completed my SIPS journey, so got those cheeky little letters, and learned a lot on my journey, actually, and I wouldn't change it.
Do you think that having that sort of account management experience on the other side, which I know quite a few people in procurement have, do you think that kind of gives you any specific benefits? Do you kind of know, do you feel like you know when someone's trying to upsell you something, or you know what's going through their head, something like that?
Well, it's interesting, actually, because when I was talking to the other side, these other companies, and I was trying to maybe sell them some extra business, a lot of the time I'm talking to a contact who is operational, is an operations management or something like that, and they don't really think of the price consequences, and actually to sell into them in some instances was surprisingly easy. So then seeing it from the procurement perspective, that kind of made me realize the actual benefit for having a point of contact for managing those sort of upsells. So if someone is trying to upsell to you, it's not anyone getting targeted. There's actually a procurement team that are there and positioned to deal with whether we actually need it or not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, people, and I think we'll get onto this in one of the other questions, but people play a big role in procurement. So the next question, what do you like most about procurement?
Procurement for me is quite a difficult field, but in terms of being positive about it, which we quite often aren't, we're often negative about procurement. I think one thing that has to be said for it is you are involved in quite a lot of high profile things like projects or decisions. You get to see kind of how business works and how decisions are made, which is quite interesting. Even from kind of, you could be quite a junior member of staff and still be involved in the decisions or maybe not making the decisions, but see how the decisions are made on quite high profile projects and big value things. I think that's quite interesting. What's your kind of take on that?
And that's a great point. I see colleagues in other organisations, and maybe some of you listeners have kind of authority. You've been in procurement 2 or 3 years, and you've got authority to sign deals that are £1 million, £2 million, maybe even more, and certainly been involved in some sizable deals. It's quite empowering to have that sort of level of trust from your organisation, and not many positions within a company will kind of hold that level of responsibility over spend. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a great point. If if you were to ask me what my answer would be around liking procurement, what would I like the most? I actually really quite like the skills you develop from working in procurement. So for me, it's a little bit of everything. So you need to be good at your stakeholder management, you get exposure to negotiation, and you've also got your contractual understanding. So it's almost like a hybrid set of skills that you kind of develop, and you can work with various other areas of the company. And I think that puts you in a great position for understanding and kind of forming that unique expertise on your company or your organization and where it sits.
So in terms of dislikes then, for me, or kind of what do I dislike about working in procurement, I feel like from my personal perspective, some of the time we are brought in late, and it's kind of like, oh, we should have spoken to procurement about this, let's just give them a sort of cursory message to see if they can get it signed in 24 hours or something. It can be kind of, in that respect, it can be like you're always being brought in to address issues.
Yeah, so you're a firefighter.
Yeah, and sometimes it's never like, oh, this project's going well, let's speak to procurement and see how they can benefit us. It seems to be sometimes about like, oh, this has gone wrong, procurement need to fix it, basically. And I think something else is, especially if you're in a company that has a lot of kind of processes to follow, and sometimes it can be a bit boring and repetitive in terms of just having to say, you need to do this and do this, sort of less autonomy maybe. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It kind of links in to what I would say is one of the bigger challenges or kind of dislikes around procurement that I have, and it's actually that a lot of people, I'd say the majority of people, don't understand what procurement do. You know, what we are there for, what is our purpose. I think in this day and age, everybody buys stuff. So, you know, if you think that we're buyers, inverted commas, then people go, well, I can buy stuff. You know, here's Amazon, I can buy whatever I want and it'll be here tomorrow. So why do I need you to come in and do a better job, right? They're not thinking about the terms, they're not thinking about the kind of implications of buying from a sweatshop, all of this different stuff. And the challenge or the dislike I have is that it feels like quite often you have to prove your value or your worth. You're justifying the value of the procurement field through doing extra work and kind of stakeholder management, where actually, you know, your finance contact will get parachuted in straight away, your legal contact will get parachuted in, and sometimes we're just missing from that. And that's the bit, and look, that's part of the podcast, right? If we can get more people listening and understanding about what it is we do and what our skill sets are, then perhaps they'll be more competitive.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. We did want to go on to, after that, sort of other random questions. So since I'm speaking, I'll ask you the first one. What animal, this is one you've heard before, what animal do you think would be best in procurement and why? So you've had a chance to prepare this one because we've asked it to a couple of guests already.
To be honest, I was thinking about that question and then I thought there's no chance he's going to ask me that today, so I haven't thought about it.
And what's your this is how the guests feel, what's your kind of initial reaction?
My initial reaction, I think, is actually going to sound quite bad, a bit like one of our other guests who said we're snakes, but I would actually say a cat. And I would,
why?
Because I think, one, we're a bit marmitey. People either love us or hate us. People think that they can let us in and we'll kind of do a job, right? So you let the cat in and it's all great. However, we've got claws, and I would say that, you know, if we need to put our foot down on something, we will. So we're not just a good-looking cat. We've got some sort of weight behind us as well. So I think it kind of, cats, I can imagine, you know, they like to toy with their prey. So when we've got a salesman on the back ropes, they like to kind of just make him know that he's on the ropes and kind of get a bit more money off him. So, yeah, I was, that came to mind because of those reasons, and yeah, we'll see if anyone else ever says that. Did you have any more questions, or was it?
Okay, I'll do my other ones then. Would you rather have to do a full public tender process every time you buy anything, even just like a pint of milk down the shop, or have to pay double for everything that you buy?
Oh, that kills me. That absolutely kills me. I don't even like paying retail price on everything, let alone double. Quite often I'm looking at my old discount sections of the shop to see if anything's on sale. Someone's dropped a can of beer and it's got a dent in it. I'll have that for 10p off.
As judged by the £10 microphone that is currently unplugged.
Yeah. So, but knowing the tender process, and just to get my weekly shop would take 6 months, and I'd probably die of starvation waiting for it. So I'd have to go double price and just earn more money.
Fair enough. Okay, and the last one was if a trolley was rolling down a track and it was about to hit 5 promising young MSIPS graduates, would you pull the lever to switch it, but it would kill one procurement director who's about to retire?
Oh. So is it save one procurement director or save 5 graduates?
Well, the trolley is about to hit the 5, so if you do nothing, it hits the 5 young promising graduates, or if you switch it, you've killed one person, but it's a procurement director.
I think I'm a firm believer in what's meant to be is meant to be, so I probably wouldn't tamper with the button, and I'll probably just let the old grads go, or the newly qualified procurement people go, and equally that's 5 less people who can take my job. So actually, maybe make it 10.
You'd push more people in front of it, is what you're saying.
I didn't say that, but I can't deny it.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll get the listeners over to our party at the local train tracks, and we'll have a great time.
If you, by the way, if you have any opinions on these questions that we're asking, then drop in the comments. If you're a massive fan of Indian takeaway and you hate Chinese, then feel free to slate me in the comments. Yeah,
I mean, it's been a learning process, and we do have comments on some fields now. So I think Spotify has some comment sections, and we're adding polls. So keep an eye out for today's poll, and give it a go. We do love a bit of participation. So let's fire into your last 3 questions. Okay, so
here we go.
Question number 1: if you had to pick one animal to follow you everywhere in life, and I mean everywhere, and you can't get rid of it, what would it be, and why?
Is it on my side, or is it there to kill me, or do I not know?
It literally does everything that it would normally do, right? So if it's a bird, it might just fly around you. If it's a crocodile, it might try and eat you, or it might eat your mate.
Because I was thinking, like, well, what you said initially was like a bear basically is like a bodyguard, but then if it just does what a bear does, I think an eagle could be quite a good shout, because then you could train it, and you could get it to say as I want a packet of sausages from the fridge, could just say a code word to it, release it from my arm, it would go downstairs to the fridge and bring me back some food. I think that could be quite good.
Yeah, I like that. That's not a bad shout, is it? You could probably train it to attack as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd feel trying to get it onto an EasyJet flight to Latvia, but we'll tackle that.
Just fly there though. That's an eagle.
Oh yeah, we'll meet you there, mate. The next one, this one might take some thought. If you were a vegetable, what would you be, and why?
I want to say tomato for some reason. Because is tomato a vegetable? No, tomato's a fruit, isn't it?
Hi guys, it's your favorite sound editor, Sound Guy, back again for another episode of Facts with Sound Guy. Today we will be answering the age-old question: tomato. Is it a fruit or a vegetable? To quote Yahoo Answers, tomatoes are botanically defined as fruits because they form from a flower and contain seeds. However, many chefs consider them a vegetable as they are usually paired with vegetables when creating dishes. With that settled, let's get back to the episode.
It's both, best of both.
Maybe that's kind of my reasoning behind it, because it's adaptable and it can be multiple things at the same time.
It's also quite plump and juicy, like your bunda. So that's a good shout. I like that. That's a good shout. This one, last one. You're heading into a £10 million contract negotiation. Okay. If you don't get this, you're losing your job. Okay. Pretty serious. Looking around the room that you are currently in, you can only take 3 items in with you to seal the deal. However, laptops, phones, and notepads are excluded.
Ooh.
What are you taking with you and why?
In this room that I'm in now.
Yeah. So what room are you in? That might be. Set some scenes.
I'm in the spare room, which is I've sort of dubbed as my office. So what do I have? I have washing hanging up behind me, and I've got some general rubbish lying about that. Both of them probably not going to be very useful. I have actually got, and I'll prove this to Luke 1, a tin of Pringles. You do actually, barbecue flavour. That's a top flavour as well. Texas barbecue definitely. For our Texan listeners. So I've got that, and something useful if I can find it. I've got double-sided sticky tape. You don't see that around much. Okay, so that could be useful somehow. So £10 million you've strutted in, right? And you've opened up a pot of Texan barbecue Pringles. So there you go, mate. Kind of soften the aggressiveness of the other side. Yeah. Then got a roll of double-sided sticky tape. We're not to sure prove, and that's to prove that things that are sort of difficult to source, I'm the man for that job. I can source that. Okay. And then the last thing is my Christmas lights that I haven't taken down yet, because they have this really aggressive flashing mode. So if all else fails, well, I'm not turning this off until you sign the contract. And maybe that would convince them to sign the contract. Mate, I'll really rate that, because that's you got your 2 different negotiation tactics there, and the double-sided sticky tape, which is probably very, very versatile. So yeah. Hopefully people learned something about us there, and obviously if you didn't, let us know. If you've got any specific questions, we're happy to answer them, say Spotify comments and YouTube comments, so we can certainly sort those out. Did you want to introduce our final segment of this episode? Yes, so we thought it was about time. All these great listeners that we've got on the podcast, thought we'd do a bit of a listener Hall of Fame, which are going to start. It's going to be a continuous thing, so please feel free to send your application in if you think you should be on there and you're not on there. So just to remind everyone, that's if you want to get in touch with us, it's 2lukes1sip@gmail.com, and that is the number 2 and the number 1. 2lukes1sip@gmail.com, and the Lukes is plural. So my first the person that I put forward to be first in the Listener Hall of Fame, it was our first ever message. It's a classic, really, from old Janet. When she got a bad haircut at the barber's and she couldn't go out, so she was listening to our podcast on repeat. So Janet is my first proposal to be in the Listener Hall of Fame. Are you happy with that? I'm not sure I am, to be honest. I think we've got one better, which was a review we received from a lady called Alison. Well, I think there can be multiple people in the. Yeah, I agree, but I also don't want to just dish them out like they're, Texas barbecue Pringles here. Okay, I think we'll come. Janet will come back to you. Don't get disheartened. Yeah. Maybe do some more things for us, and we might let you in. I still want to see Janet's trim, to be honest. And Janet, if you send us a photo of your trim, then perhaps we'll get you in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean, maybe she stopped listening because I've not heard any not heard anything back from her.
Yeah. So do you want to go over what Alison's review was? Because I think that was
Yes.
fantastic.
So Alison, shout out to you. This is Alison's review. She says, "Your voices are quite soothing. I've lost the will of what you are waffling about, but it's a good background noise and very relaxing."
Love that.
So thanks, Alison.
Thank you, Alison. That's made our day. That. So I'm not sure from reading that, it doesn't feel like you've gained much in the way of SIPS knowledge, but you've got some ASMR background noise. So thank you for joining us on the ride.
That's sort of our aim, isn't it? We don't necessarily want to be too informative. We more care about the soothing and relaxing people on the way to their exam or on their dog walk or whatever they want to do. I also I want to put a bonus entry up for Listener Hall of Fame, and that is someone you know very well. It's Rob, your father.
Oh yeah, hello Rob.
I think we've spoken about it in an episode before, but do you want to go over the story about how Rob phoned you up and had a bit of a go about the podcast?
I don't know if do I go through this again and discuss the pain?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I find it funny, so.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I got a call halfway through the working day from my dad, and he was rather irate, and I couldn't really calm him down. I kind of needed to figure out what he was feeling about. And he said, "Your podcast, I've been listening to it." I was like, "Yes, Dad, what's your problem?" He goes, "Your mate, Luke 10, he's taking the piss." "What do you mean, Dad? What do you mean?" And we were talking about SIPS tips and bashing them out. And we kept saying, I'll bash it out, bash one or two out. And my dad's going, "Son, do you really not know what that means? Bashing one out." Thinking, "Dad, what?" He goes, "Yeah, this Luke 10 fellow, he's really mugging you off. He's inferring about, bashing one out, what the boys do. And you don't have a clue, do you?" And he just keeps going along with it. At which point I had to say, "Look, Dad, unfortunately, or fortunately, I know exactly what he was doing. Because obviously bashing out is a very prominent boys term. And I would consider that, well, you might consider it a highlight of the pod so far, but for me it's a particular low light, having to explain to my dad that I was very well aware of what bashing one out means."
No, because I think Rob needs to go in. Rob and Alison can be the two from this episode that we nominate to the Hall of Fame. So congratulations. We'll be sending you your prize in the post. So yeah, thank you for being great listeners and giving such great feedback.
Yeah, appreciate it. And look, we'll keep an eye out for you other great listeners and see who we can get into the Listener Hall of Fame. And I think there's one final topic we'd like to introduce you to, and that's the Celebrity Procurement Hall of Fame. So we were just discussing episode ideas and stuff, weren't we? And we quite like the odd pun. So what we've decided to do is try and come up with a list of famous movies and famous celebrities, but basically adapting their names to procurement puns. And I think what we thought was great and easy has turned out to be actually a little bit challenging. So I'll go through some films, but I'll or do you want to go through the films and then I'll do the celebrities?
Trying to look at which list is better. I'll go through the films. Okay, so I mean, this is probably a mixture of you and me. You've come up with the majority of them, I think, so I won't take credit for them all. But Private Ryan's Savings is the first one.
Like that.
The Podfather.
Yeah, big respect for that one. Even though it's not really procurement, but it's podcast, so we'll take that.
The Supplier Strikes Back.
What film's that supposed to be?
The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
And Procurious George.
I love that.
And then this is a bit of a stretch. Jurassic Park Yeoman.
Oh, Jurassic Park Procurement. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I like that. So that's 5 films on the list, and then we'll go through 5 celebrities. And what we're really hoping in, listeners, is if you can come up with some ideas and we can expand these lists. So we've got Pod Stewart, who's our lovely singer, and then we got Johnny Depp, racking up some debt. We've got Brad Pitt, as opposed to Brad
like
Pitt.
that one.
Obviously, yeah, just have to run through that. Right, brace yourself. We've got Sipstina Aguilera. How do you feel about
Best
that?
one so far. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that one.
Procurella Deville. How do you feel about that?
I like that one as well. I think Sipstina Aguilera is the best.
Yeah, I'm happy with that one. There is one I missed off the list because I don't have the heart to say it because it looks awful. If you want to go for it, you can, but I'm happy. Maybe we just disclose that in the next episode because it's that bad.
Maybe this will be like if it gets requested, then we'll say it. But have low expectations because it's not good at all.
Brilliant. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Much appreciated, and we'll see you in the next one.
And don't forget to send in your entries for Procurement Tightest Man competition. We've had 2 so far, and let me tell you, if those 2 win it, then we're all in trouble. So, yeah.
See you later.
See you later.